Welcome back to Ruff Talk VR. Dive into your weekly dose of in-depth game reviews, exclusive developer chats, and the freshest scoop on MetaQuest and the VR universe. Today, we're in good hands with the dynamic father-son duo D-Scruffles and Stratus, ready to decode and discuss all things virtual reality.
Hey everyone, we have another week of loaded interviews coming your way. We kicked it off on Monday with an interview with the Genotype developers, and today we have a great interview with one of the co-founders of FastTravelGames. But before we kick off the show, like always, I want to give a weekly on-air shout-out to our Patreon supporters on our on-air shout-out tier. Huge thank you to Mike Morbid, Asim, Crispy, Jake, Earth Witness, Amelia, and Shoes. Thank you all for your continued support month after month, and also huge thank you to the listeners that tune in episode after episode. And don't forget, you too can go join our Patreon server where we have cool perks like on-air shoutouts, also access to an exclusive Discord chat room in our Discord server, and your name across the bottom of a video, whole bunch of cool stuff. Also, we give you kind of tidbits on the latest and greatest with upcoming interviews and stuff like that. So definitely go check out our Patreon, our Discord. Huge thank you to our Patreon members, and I hope you all enjoy this interview. Take care. Hey, welcome to this episode of Ruff Talk VR. Today we're joined with a guest that I know I keep saying I'm so excited for this guest,
dude,
but
you have no idea.
I swear the last 2 months we're going down a checklist and we're checking off all of our dream guests. Really,
If it was a wish list of like people or studios we could be talking to, we're hitting all the boxes.
Oh yeah, and today we're joined with Erik, the creative director and also co-founder of FastTravelGames, a studio that we've talked about so much this year.
Oh, not even funny.
I mean, they're in-house, in-made games like we're talking about today with, Vampire the Masquerade Justice that just came out on the MetaQuest. Their in-house great games are amazing, as evidenced by this one, but their publishing wing this year is insane.
Ridiculous.
Insane.
They're like all store releases too.
But before we fanboy out too much, Erik, do you mind to introduce yourself a little bit more to the listeners and also tell them, your role at Fast Travel?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, super nice to be here. I'm Erik Odeldahl, creative director and co-founder of FastTravelGames. We founded the company 7 years ago now. 7+. Me and Oscar Burman and Christopher Benjaminson. We were just 3 people back then. Now we're about 70. And like you said, so we have two in-house dev teams, and then we have a full marketing team and a full publishing team. And so we're kind of we turned into a big studio, which was it's nice. It was a bit surprising, even to me, but fun.
7 years to go from 3 people to 70 is...
Well, and the reputation of the studio is like, you think VR and you think studios, you can't help but think fast travel. So
yeah, they really shoot out gold, both with their in-house made games and their publishing titles like We Are One, some great titles to come out of Fast Travel in both areas. But prior to you starting Fast Travel, were you already working in the VR industry before that, or is this a new transition over for you?
Right. It was a transition. I had just spent 10 years at DICE in Stockholm. So FastTravelGames is based in Stockholm, in Sweden. And I had spent 10 years at DICE. Christopher and Oscar, my co-founders, were also, we met while we worked at DICE and EA. But VR was new for me as a designer and developer, and for Oscar as well. I know Oscar has wanted to do VR since the 90s. And Christopher actually spent some time developing for VR at Frostbite Labs at EA. But for me, it was a completely new thing. Almost. We had done some prototypes. So I was design director at DICE for Mirror's Edge Catalyst, and we did some prototypes in VR for that. It never reached basically a playable frame rate, I'm afraid to say, or anything like that. But it was also one of the reasons why I really wanted to start Fast Travel with Christopher and Oscar was that I really felt that VR needed to be done from the ground up. It's hard to take an existing title and turn it into VR. It's not impossible. We've actually done it ourselves at Fast Travel now, but it was, but still it's, that was one of the big reasons. So I played VR the first time, some people from Oculus came over to DICE, and I tried the first dev kit. I tried that and was like, this is super, super cool. And that must have been 2014, maybe something. Can that be right? Years. It's
maybe 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
The years can get murky quick.
Yeah, exactly. But it was, that was a mind blowing thing for me. And then, when we started talking and, the chance came up, then VR is just, it's still so much fun. And I hate to say it, but the thing, I wouldn't say I had grown bored of ordinary games, but it's after a while, at least I felt maybe in AAA development, what I felt was that there's a lot of technical challenge. That's what you do. It's mainly always technical challenge, but a lot of the design paradigms, etc., that you use are you stick to the things but in VR everything was new and no one knew anything, and I love that. I still love it. I think it's fun.
So, which is explaining a lot about the energy of the studio.
Yeah, in 2015, 2016, that would be 7 years ago. That's my math right there, as long as I'm not messing up my math too bad.
No.
There was no Quest yet. Of course, VR is still niche, and it must have been. I don't want to use the word risky, but
I'll use the word.
When you were talking,
still
with,
a risk.
Friends and family and peers in the industry, what was the reception like of, hey, I'm leaving DICE, an established studio, to start a new VR studio?
I think a lot of people were surprised that I personally went to work in VR. A lot of people expected, you're going to go and build like games like 2D platformers, puzzle platformers like Inside or stuff like that. But I love those games too, by the way. But VR, when we started, there was no VR. It's like, I think when we actually moved into our first office, we had a Vive, and we had some, the earlier, Oculus Rifts, but the touch controllers hadn't been released yet either. So we were, but we very early on decided to just focus on motion controllers as well. But it was risky, and of course, I still have a lovely, understanding wife. But it was. I think a lot of game developers, at least at DICE, they probably want, they want to start, they want to do their own thing. So I think a lot of people were, they cheered me on, and I think Swedish, the game dev scene here is really nice. Basically, we all cheer each other on. There's not a lot of competition, or just friendly competition now. So
now you guys have FastTravelGames, Beyond Frames, Resolution. Sweden is quite the VR hub.
Left a very huge imprint on the VR map. So
yeah. And remind me too, what was Fast Travel's first game?
That was Apex Construct. The bow and arrow post-apocalyptic. It's a single-player, narrative-driven single-player title. We've focused a lot on that historically. It was launched on the first PSVR as a first, and then released later on PC. And then it was a launch title for the first Quest as well.
Sorry, I was going to say 7 years later now, how many titles do you guys have in-house, not counting your published titles like I referenced before, We Are One, Ghost Signal?
So we have the in-house titles it's Apex Constructs, the first one, and then we developed a nice little family game called The Curious Tale of the Stolen Pets, which is a super nice little title. Then we co-developed Budget Cuts 2 with Neat Corporation, another Swedish VR studio in Stockholm. And then we did Wraith the Oblivion Afterlife. And then we did Cities VR in-house as well. Ghost Signal was developed mainly by people from Windswept, but with some internal development as well. It's Lara's story. And then Vampire the Masquerade Justice. So what's that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 titles so far.
Wow. And
Yeah.
Sorry, keep going.
No, we have had a pretty high tempo, and Vampire the Masquerade Justice is the longest production we've had. But we felt early that it's better. We want to ship games, and we want to learn by shipping, and especially when VR was so new, it's just we need to get games out there and see, is this a good way for people to play? Will they like it like this, or do they want to try stuff differently? And a lot of stuff we did early on, we've stuck to, while others we've changed a lot, like just design philosophies, stuff like that. But we tried to stay true to this. Basically, we like to be able to touch stuff and basically be in the world and lift things, throw things, break things. And just move around in the world. Even in a game like Ghost Signal, where you have this God perspective, it's still I feel very tactile and you interact a lot with different things. And I think that's what we just keep doing. Probably will keep doing again and again and again.
I loved Ghost Signal too. That's my example that I use for people.
The whole list is good.
Yeah, when you go down and you talk real-time strategy games in VR, sometimes people are a little skeptical, but it's like, no, look at a game like Ghost Signal. I could play that game till 5 battery cycles, die. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's I'm proud of all our games, but I'm really proud of that one. It was, they got the loop, they got the gameplay loop. It really just works. Love it.
So before we kick off into this latest game, which I will say has thus far been really, really good for me. Just the name Fast Travel. What's the story behind that? I've always been curious about this.
Yeah. The hardest thing, I think, in any creative endeavor is to name things. But what we said was, first of all, Fast Travel it's a fun, it's a very gamey thing. People know what it is, but what it means is you go somewhere and you go there fast, you go there quick. And in VR, that was, you put on the headset and we take you somewhere else. We take you somewhere that is more interesting than where you are right now. So that's the whole idea with the name is take players somewhere they want to be really, really quick.
So we weren't too far off base. We were just saying take studios where they want to be really quickly.
Well, I don't know if they had the vision for this publishing wing at launch or at least so fast, but definitely, Fast Travel is the studio you go to if you want your game on the store fast. You guys crush it in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was the plan to always get into publishing, or is that something that just kind of happened
organically?
It happened kind of naturally. I mean, we've always self-published our games. After a while, the games got bigger. The more games we have out on different storefronts, we basically felt like, no, we should probably have people that actually work just with publishing. And then we started, there's a lot of smaller teams that, we help in different ways with funding, with marketing, using our channels, stuff like that. And we felt like there's so much, and everyone benefits from more fun games in VR. I feel like it's, so I think, it was a natural thing for us to go into, but there was definitely no plan, at least not that I knew of, in 2016 to have our own publishing wing.
It's definitely funny the way things go.
Just happen.
Yeah, especially in the
Yeah.
world of VR. But something that, can't be missed about Fast Travel, in their in-house games, you're hitting so many different, like vastly different genres. I referenced Ghost Signal, a top-down game, Apex, bow and arrow, and Vampire the Masquerade. It's definitely a story-based narrative game, but you're a freaking vampire in all aspects of the gameplay.
Yeah.
I don't really know how else to describe it. You can sneak
That's
up
what
at
I've
people.
been I'm like, if you ever want to be a vampire, this is it. This is about as close as you're going to get. So
Sneak up to people, grab the neck, refill. It's freaking awesome. But
it's great.
do you want to give a quick rundown for the
Eating
listeners in case they haven't hopped in yet? Exactly what Vampire the Masquerade Justice is?
So Vampire the Masquerade Justice is, well, it's a game where you play the vampire in a modern day neon lit Venice, Italy. And it's a stealth based game. The vampire the clan. Let me go back. Zoom back a bit into the 90s. there's a pen and paper role playing game called Vampire the Masquerade. I'm not sure. Am I on camera or am I?
Yep. You are.
Okay, let me show.
We were admiring that lovely bookshelf too.
So all my role playing books here behind me, but it's a wonderful role playing game, pen and pen tabletop game, and it was created in the early 90s. And this is the 5th edition that we based the game on, where you play as vampires in this hidden society, and in Vampire the Masquerade Justice, you play a vampire of the clan Banu Haqib. They're kind of the judges of the guilty. They're badasses. And you travel to Venice in Italy to basically find who killed your sire, the one who turned you into a vampire. And you kind of end up in the middle of a family feud, you could say, between different vampires in Venice. And it's stealth based. You're kind of weak out in the open, but as long as you play it like a vampire, like a predator, and stay in the shadows, etc., you're super strong. And so we want. There's been a lot of work put into the whole power balancing. We want the player to feel very powerful, but we also don't want the game to just, you should be able to fail. It's kind of hard sometimes, actually. If you really want to play stealthily, it can be quite challenging.
And definitely, you can survive hand to hand. You can kind of box people up real quick, hit them with the two-piece and the biscuit. But definitely, that is the time that you're most vulnerable. You want to play like a vampire, like you said, hide in the shadows, hide in the upper area, jump down on people, really take advantage of your environment. But all the lore in the game, it's taken straight from the existing pen and paper. Did you guys have some creative freedom in that regard?
We had quite a lot of creative freedom. So we worked Vampire the Masquerade IP. It's a part of the World of Darkness, and the whole IP is a series. It's owned by another Swedish game developer or a game studio called Paradox down the road from us. And we worked with them on Wraith the Oblivion Afterlife. It's set in the same universe. Well, we liked working together. The World of Darkness team, they're super nice, very open to ideas. I mean, they will gently steer you in a direction if you're veering off too far, but they've been really, really nice to work with and very helpful. And and a lot of the lore, all the characters in the game are new, written by me and created by the team. But the different families, the clans, everything like that that exists already. So, but it's also, that's kind of a luxury to have these source books and, okay, let's bring this thing forward and that thing forward. But also trying to build a game where you don't necessarily have to know everything about, 30 years of role-playing history. So I think that's
a balance. You want to make it good for the fans, but
whose push was this to create this? Like, how did this even come to be? And I know you got the book, but
we did Wraith, the Oblivion Afterlife. That was actually, this was in 2018, I think. We started talking to Paradox about that. And Wraith, the Oblivion Afterlife is a straight horror game. It's a scary game. I'm not sure if you've played it, but it's supposed to be very scary, and you're supposed to be very defenseless, stuff like that. But it was a lot of fun to build. We really liked working with Paradox, and with Meta as well on that. So, and when we had finished that, we basically started talking, can we work on more stuff together? And I mean, we did a version of City Skylines called Cities VR. That's a Paradox IP. We did Ghost Signal, a Stellaris story, which is a Paradox IP. And then Vampire the Masquerade Justice. So we've done 4 games now on these, on their IPs. And I think we like working together. They're a great studio. And like I said, in Stockholm, a lot of game developers know each other. So we kind of we meet over beers, at different events, etc., etc. So we just knew each other, and it just felt, good to work together. That's kind of. I don't actually remember who. I know I created the first pitch for Justice, but I don't know if they or if it was us that first said, "Let's make a vampire game." I don't remember. One of us did.
Well, I like the relationship, between you.
It's a great relationship.
Yeah, I love the culture of the Swedish game development scene. It sounds very, very supportive. And look at the end result for the consumer. We get games like Vampire the Masquerade Justice, Ghost Signal.
First time I've been a vampire.
Yeah. It's so much fun. And, you mentioned that you wrote a little bit about the game, but were you the full writer of the game as the creative director, or is there a full team dedicated to that?
No, I did writing. We actually have some stuff that's written by members of the team, but I've written all our games, actually, yes, except Ghost Signal, that I didn't write. And it's just, it's stuff I've done for so long, so I just kept doing it. And I like it. And for Vampire, it was, the story part actually came fairly early because it's based on a role-playing game. We knew we wanted to do this stealth stuff. We had some other plans as well initially, but pretty soon we honed in on the stealth experience. It was the thing that felt most fun, most natural. But the world and the story is since it is a role-playing game, the rule set for the Vampire the Masquerade is actually called Storyteller or Story, so it's very narratively driven. It's about being the monster, not just black and white. You try to keep your humanity, and it's a story is such a big thing. The initial ideas for the story and Justice came fairly early, actually. Early in development.
I love the environment a lot, and the art. I don't even want to say graphics. I want to say artistry. So I'm curious how many people actually worked on the art design for this.
I mean, our teams are kind of big for VR, but not massive. So I think we had some. We had actually 2 art directors. One, Henrik, was on parental leave for like 8 or 9 months. So then we had one of our animators actually stepping in as a deputy art director. But then we had a team of kind of a little bit revolving number of artists. They were usually 3 environment artists. And then we had a character artist, and a VFX artist, and concept artist, etc. So, but it, usually 3 environment artists at the same time, but some of them moved between teams.
Well, you can see the effort put into it in the final product.
It's not even funny.
Both,
I felt like I was there.
both the gameplay, visually, even audibly, the music, the soundtrack in the game is freaking badass. Right when you get to the main menu,
Can I ask you something though?
What's that?
Do you get in a character when you play?
I do for every VR game. I am a freaking vampire if I'm playing playing this game.
I just had to know.
So you mentioned earlier this is Fast Travel's biggest production for games yet. So by that, do you mean in terms of amount of people working on it? The length of time it took?
Both, actually. So it was team of around 25 people for quite a long time. But it's during any game development, the team grows and shrinks depending on, where you are in production. But it's definitely the longest production so far, and biggest in terms of people, I think. We have another title in production right now, which you might have heard of, called Mannequin, a multiplayer thing. That team is also growing pretty large, but it's going to go up and down. It's so hard to say that the team was this big because it changes depending on. But we don't have massive AAA teams or anything like that. So I think we have, and I actually think this is totally true. We when we had our launch party for Justice, the game is, I'd say 10 to 15 hours from most players, which means that even in the flat screen world, it's huge. But a game of that length, in AAA, I don't even know how many artists you have now on big single player titles. So I really think that the art team and the design team and the code team, everyone has done such a terrific job.
Cool. We always joke, might not be, flat screen standards, but AAA Fast Travel is a AAA studio by VR standards.
Yeah. He's just being modest.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, and comparative to like a Respawn or
you
EA
don't pump out 7 games in house in coincidentally 7 years.
Yeah,
right.
With great,
it's like a game a year.
Great published titles as well. So yeah,
it's not even funny.
Might not be.
Yes, you are the AAA, one of the few AAA studios in the VR world.
So I apologize if I missed this, but how long exactly did Vampire the Masquerade take to make then?
I'm gonna need to think here. We started. So let's see. We published Break the Oblivion Afterlife in, I think, April 21, and I think I started Vampire. By then, it was just me. I think in February 21. But then we started adding, the team came on. A lot of people that had worked on Afterlife came on May 21, I think. And then we launched on November 2nd, 23. So what is that? That's 2.5 years, roughly.
That's pretty good development time for a game this polished. Like you said, it's not the quickest story. 10 to 15 hours is, by flat screen standards, good. And definitely by VR standards, that's meaty.
That's a home run. Yeah.
That's meaty to say the least.
Meaty's a good word.
And you can pick 2 different voices, the male and female. That
was one thing, because in Afterlife we had this very, you play one specific character. He's a male voice, great actor. But we, for Justice, we said let the player be able to pick male, female, and also different. The arms and hands, not super different, but different enough. I feel so. Basically, let the player combine that, and we wanted to do the fully voiced first person character, which is, not, some people say, you can't do that. It's not immersive, etc. But I really, I like to go into the story when I play. I like, become the vampire, make funny faces and gesture. Even in we have these scenes, conversations where I always gesture. I don't just stand there it's part of the fun for me in VR is to role play it, be in the game. I love that.
That's us 100%.
The first time I jumped down Oh, don't think I wasn't like
arms out.
oh
you
my
know,
God, it was ridiculous. It was one of those moments where I'm like, oh, I wish I filmed myself when I play VR because I'm quite sure I'm trying to act like a vampire as I'm being a vampire. So it's kind of a twofold.
And a lot of the dialogue from the main character is kind of, it's narrative dialogue. So to me, that's not immersion breaking one bit because it's like, yeah, he's narrating what I'm doing. It's like I'm playing a movie. So I think the way it was executed was very well. But if I'm not crazy, there's dialogue with choices as well, correct?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
I haven't done multiple playthroughs, but does that affect anything in the game, or is that more for how? Look, I want to be the asshole vampire, or I want to be the good guy vampire.
It's mainly to be, do I want to be a total asshole or just a little bit asshole? The nice version is often not super nice either, actually. But then there is, we have a verbal skill called intimidation that you can purchase for experience points. And that's basically, so you have a little bit of an asshole, the asshole version, and then the complete and utter asshole, which is the intimidation, which is basically threatening people to get, but, and that can actually change stuff. It can give you codes to secure the system so you can turn off, cameras, you can open doors, lead you to secrets, stuff like that. But there's no, there's no really branching paths in the story. That's one of the early calls we made, was just make sure that every player gets one good story and good playthrough. So,
well,
I'm not upset about it.
No, and fully voiced, it's hard to go completely branching different.
Sometimes you can hear when the story breaks when that happens.
Yeah,
if it's not done and even then, sometimes you still realize it.
Yeah, no, I agree. But deciding to do, two different voice actors, did that add a lot of development time, or was it just as easy as just one more person in the voice studio?
No, it did add some extra development time. During development, we had so many bugs where the voices just switched. I know I started with a male voice this time. It's, like with any type of, issues during development, but, it did add some development time. I don't think tons, but it did. And then, actually, in the studio, when we recorded voices, that was actually kind of fun because we did Diana, the female voice. We did her in the because she's based in Stockholm, so we did her in the morning, and then in the afternoon we did Zach. I think he's based in Tennessee, maybe. I actually don't really know where he is, but he's an American actor and he's based in the States. So we did him late in the afternoon, so we had some time to wake up.
So you flew him out there to do it too? Or
no, we didn't actually. He did. We did that over internet, and it worked pretty well. Yeah.
Wow, the quality is.
So you get to, while he's doing the recordings, you're getting to watch it real time.
Yeah, exactly. We had him on camera, and he's a super nice guy as well. He did some voices for Afterlife as well, so I felt like I need to work with him again. He's great. Zach Hoffman is called.
No, he did a great job. Admittingly, that's the character that I'm playing as right now, so that's definitely the voice I've heard the most. But no, it's very polished. I would have thought that was in studio in person. The fact that you were able to record that over internet.
I mean, he has a great studio at home. A lot of voice actors actually have their own home studios, and he's got a great studio at home. That we basically directed him from Stockholm, from the studio in Stockholm.
Understood. And it sounds like Fast Travel keeps doing this ping pong with their internally made games of kind of single player narrative story. And then, you have a couple top down strategy ones, Go Signal. Also, City Skylines is absolutely top down strategy as well. So it's kind of ping ponging back and forth. And personally, I love both. For yourself as a gamer, do you have a preference of the single player narrative, or are you a strategy guy?
I am probably more of a single player narrative guy. I actually don't, and this I'm ashamed to say almost, but I don't play first person games on a flat screen anymore. VR has broken me in that, but I like, I like being in first person in VR personally. I think it's I think it's so much fun. I like being there. I like role playing. I like pretending. VR really makes it easy to do that. When I play games on my PS5 or Xbox or stuff like just flat screen games, I mainly play third person action games. Actually, I play some strategy, but not a lot. It's I like it, and I like turn-based combat. I love, for instance, I like the Divinity original Sin games. If you played those, and Baldur's Gate 3, of course, it's great turn-based combat. I love that, but I probably don't play that enough.
It's always funny the differences that we have with like what we enjoy flat screen versus in
the
VR.
rules are out the window.
Yeah, it's like I'm not too much of a co-op multiplayer gamer flat screen, but VR, anything social, anything co-op is great. First person adventure games, I think the last one I got really into flat screen was like Assassin's Creed 2. That's not what I go to flat screen, but VR, co-op games, single player narrative games, hell yeah, send them to me. So
dude, I love everything.
Yeah, so I can definitely understand that. Sometimes what you enjoy VR is definitely different than flat screen. But something that we had asked to us by a few people in our Discord, when we were talking about Vampire the Masquerade Justice, they go, well, I love it. Is it coming to other consoles? So I got to ask, is there plans for a PC version or PC VR version? I mean, a PlayStation VR version, anything like that?
It's out on PSVR 2.
Ooh, I missed that
already. Yeah. No, it was actually sim launched on PSVR 2. So that is out. I love both versions. I love playing on Quest. I play mainly actually on PlayStation now after launch because I played the Quest version so much during development. And I guess we haven't officially said anything about PC yet, but watch this space or something. I guess
it would make sense if there's the PlayStation VR version.
Yeah, I mean, you went through the trouble for that. It's not too far off to do the PC. No, I get that. I get it.
And do you mainly play on for like with yourself as a consumer? Are you a Quest player? Are you a PlayStation VR player? What's your go-to headset?
It's been mainly Quest, actually. Quest 2. I haven't bought a Quest 3 yet. Personally, I will, but I'm saving up, probably for Christmas or something like that. But I've been playing something. I have a PSVR 2 at home as well. I like it a lot. I basically like any VR system that is just plug and play. I never personally at home got to grips with I have a Vive, it's up there, I have the Rift, I have everything, but I just like the ease of playing on a Quest was changed so much for me. And I think the PSVR 2 has that as well. It just works. And it's so nice to use and so nice to play. And it's both headsets are very comfortable. They have their different strengths. The Quest, well, no cord is great, right? It's been out now a couple of years, but it's still so, not getting tangled up and stuff, etc. What the PSVR 2 has that I love is the haptics, both in the headset and the controllers. To me, well implemented haptics in VR is a game changer. It's just I love it. Really proud of the stuff we did for Justice. So if you have the opportunity, you should check it out as well. It's kind of cool when you drink blood. You have blood pounding in your head and stuff like that. It is cool.
Yeah, no PlayStation VRs over here for us. That's how we missed the launching on there. But damn, you do a good job, selling it in that regard. There is something that makes me laugh about the co-founder of one of the biggest VR studios waiting till Christmas to buy himself the newest.
Yeah,
it made me chuckle.
I can't buy everything. I just point. It's you need to pace yourself a bit, I guess.
And it keeps Christmas special.
I was going to say Christmas would be kind of boring if you just, I got everything I really want. I don't have nothing.
We also have quite a few Quest 3s at the office, so it's not
okay.
Yeah, that
I was kind of making that
helps
assumption that the office has everything in it. So
Yeah, that definitely helps. But you mentioned the increased addition of haptics for the PlayStation VR 2 version. Getting the haptics on your head as you're sucking blood. That sounds really cool.
I'm jealous.
But besides haptics, are there other big improvements in the PlayStation VR version, like graphics or anything like that?
Yeah,
the graphics in the Quest 3 it was tight.
Yeah, the Quest 3 has like a mix of the Quest 2 and the high-end PlayStation visuals, but the PlayStation, just because it is more powerful, we can do more. There's a ton of more, mainly effects. There's also real-time lighting and real-time shadows and stuff like that is harder to do on Quest 2. You can, but you have to sacrifice so much else. So it's, so there's, I think the real-time lighting, the real-time shadows, just more VFX, more stuff happening, more ambient things happening in the environment. It's, but it's, at its core, it's the same visual experience. The visual language of Justice is also it's the Venice streets, it's the catacombs and the sewers, and everything is, well, there's a ton of neon lights. So there's, you definitely get the same sense on the Quest 2 and 3, I think, as you get on a PlayStation.
Yeah, I wasn't playing going on as a Quest 3 user. I wasn't playing going, oh, I wish it was better here, or look how low. No, it was
no. The whole project is well rounded. No, I don't feel slighted.
No. Besides the haptics do sound pretty freaking cool.
Nor am I shocked that a PlayStation user will get an increase in graphics. Just like I would expect the PC VR user not to be a mirror image of each other. It's just the way it goes.
But I actually think the haptics on Quest 3 are slightly better as well than the Quest 2. So I think as a Quest 3 user, I think you get the motors are just better than the controllers. You don't get the headset rumble, but that is, you'll have to try it sometime on PSVR 2 and say what you think.
Yeah, definitely if I can get my hands on.
Yeah, I know. I thought as soon as Gran Turismo VR came out, I thought you were going to bite the bullet.
That's the closest I've come.
Yeah,
because I really would love to.
Yeah, Gran Turismo is a great title, but back to Fast Travel. In regards, you teased Mannequin a little bit. Are you able to talk at all? What that game is? I've seen some teasers involving, mannequins. So we definitely got that part, but I'm not sure how much is already out.
I actually am not 100% sure of what I'm allowed to say. So I probably shouldn't say it.
Yeah, when in doubt, we can always omit.
Yeah.
When in doubt, leave it out.
It is a multiplayer title, and it's built on. It has a mechanic that we are very proud of. That it's basically impossible to play it if not in VR. And I think that's it. It just wouldn't work outside. Which I think it's pretty cool.
This is just me. I know nothing, but I'll use my imagination of the potential of VR with motion and the word mannequin. Kind of
and it's multiplayer.
Yeah, this sounds like.
Yeah, dude, I can't.
It's multiplayer, and we are doing some invite. We invite people for play tests now. So there's a Discord, which of course, I can never remember. We have a FastTravelGames Discord, and I know there's a Manic channel there, so you can look for listeners. You can sign up, and talk to the team. So the team is actually pretty open about development, and the intent here is actually not to be so. At the moment, we might be a little close-lipped, but the idea is to actually talk a lot about how we develop.
No, totally understandable. Like we said, when in doubt, always better safe than sorry.
So in this case, I'm actually not part of the team. So, which is why we have James Hunt is game directing that, and I'm actually not 100% sure of what the team has agreed to say with marketing people, etc. So I better just keep my mouth shut.
Was that because you were so focused on Vampire the Masquerade Justice that it was like 100% on this, while Mannequin is obviously in the works still?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was a big part of it. And I mean, Ghost Signal was, we had, Christopher Smith was the game director on that. And, and I think we'll see much more from Chris, and James in the future. And I'll be around, but I might not. Maybe we'll see what happens, but might not lead another team for a while now. I basically want to help both teams now. The whatever happens after Justice and Mannequin. But since we are a 2-team studio now, I can't be everywhere all at once, and I actually love that. I think both James and Chris are great game directors. So it's fun. It's fun to work with them, and also it's fun to actually be with Mannequin. It's a lot of fun to actually not be part of daily development, but just take part in play tests and say, "Oh, this has changed. This is fun." Or, so it's fun to be part of game dev as a fan as well, not just someone who's super critical of everything. It's so easy when you're working super hard of it to just focus on things that you need to improve, and instead of just see it's like shit. It's actually good. The fun thing with Mannequin, I get that all the time. So that's.
Well, I'm officially hyped for the future of Fast Travel. If I wasn't already,
would you love to take a peek at their whiteboard?
I can only imagine. Between again, what's going on in house, plus who knows what you all have in the.
There's so many secrets going on
with more titles, maybe more Paradox stuff because they seem to be your best friends. I love it. So
we'll see what happens.
So I got to ask the worst question to ask, to a team that just put out a great game. I'm more asking just for the listeners because I know somebody's going to be wondering. The reality is if Vampire the Masquerade Justice received no new content, boom, put out, drop, that's how it is. Phenomenal game. Honestly, one of the best story games of the year. It's amazing. Now, on the other side, to be selfish, is there plans down the line to do more content? Or is it mostly, hey, look, we put out a great game. Let's take a breath and figure out the next step?
We have talked about more content. I think we'll see if there is a huge demand for it. Then we'll definitely. It's not like we don't have ideas. What we're doing right now is we're relaxing a bit, but we're also fixing. When you launch a game, there's bound to be a couple of bugs. So we're preparing patches for all platforms. We pushed one out today on Quest. I think that's our second patch on Quest actually. And basically try to fix things. And so what we will do now is improve on all platforms. It's out on. That's the plan first. And fix a few things that we didn't have time to do before launch. That always happens as well during any games development. So it's, but it's actually, we are allowing ourselves to relax a bit, putting out a game is always kind of stressful. So it's nice to relax a bit, but we are thinking about the future.
Yeah, very well deserved relaxing too.
Well deserved 100%.
Yeah, like I said, I had to preface it of, look, if no more content comes, the game's amazing.
Yeah, I haven't, knock on wood. I mean, I'm glad to see patches come out because I get it, but I haven't suffered any.
Yeah, we're the lucky bunch, I guess, in that regard. But no bugs on my end at all.
No,
that's nice. So. Makes me happy to hear.
Yeah, no, it's been smooth so far. I obviously haven't completed it. I guess I was happy and kind of sad to know that it's going to be 10 to 15 hours because I know I'm going to be on the 15-hour spectrum of things because I'm the type of person that, like, is there a corner there for me to look at? Let me go around a corner and look around a corner.
Oh, yeah. Even in the first level, I'm like climbing up to stuff. I know I'm going.
I'm easily distracted.
Yeah. Well, these type of games, there's collectibles and stuff. Like, you got to search every area. I mean, why not?
Sometimes you don't want to just run and do something foolish that's going to set off somebody hearing you do something stupid. So
I can tell you, we did hide some fun Easter eggs in the game. So and you mainly find those by exploring and experimenting with stuff. There's we'll see how if anyone finds it. But if no one has found us one specific Easter egg in a couple of months, we might actually have to leak
Oh, no.
because I love it. But there's a lot of fun stuff to find. I think the Vampire the Masquerade, it's very dark and it's very moody, and people are assholes, but we also allowed ourselves to have quite a lot of fun. It's fun to be powerful. So I think there's a lot of really cool things if you look hard enough in the game.
I love a good Easter egg.
Yeah, I mean, I know for shock nobody's found it yet.
I'll give it time. Let's see.
Well, there's a lot to explore. So in
That's the
defense,
thing.
it's not like
How many of the players have even beaten the game yet? And then knowing now that there's Easter eggs, now you got to go back and really dedicate a run just to looking every square
somebody will
inch.
find it. I want to find it.
Yeah, I'm definitely a sucker for
But
it.
I don't think I have any chance of finding it on a first playthrough.
No.
No.
Too curious of what happens
I'm
next.
too much being the vampire than I am the explorer vampire,
But kind of on that, do you have any tips for new players that, maybe they're struggling to stay alive and be a vampire, or just for anybody curious about the game before they hop in? Any just general?
I mean, the number one tip is one enemy is very seldom dangerous. If there are 2 or 3 in a group, you could end up dead pretty quickly. So I think that my number one tip is try to take enemies out one by one. It's perfectly possible to play through a majority of the levels without hurting anything. Not even a rat. But rats you can eat the rats.
which I thought was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The sounds while you do it too. It's pretty awesome.
So there's, but the Cloak of Shadows, the invisibility power you have is actually very powerful. And if you don't move, it doesn't consume much hunger at all, which means that you can actually, if you stand still, you can really just, have enemies walk right past you. So it's actually super powerful. I always upgrade the invisibility, Cloak of Shadows, Unseen Passage, and Vanish. That's always the first 3 things I unlock when I do a playthrough game, because I just like not being seen, being able to sneak around.
Dare I ask how many playthroughs there's been for you?
Oh God,
I'm sure an incountable amount.
A ton of playthroughs, 200% playthroughs only, because you couldn't actually 100% the game until fairly late in development. And I'm currently in the process of 100%ing it on PlayStation. I haven't done that. So. But I played it so many times. Everybody in the team has played so many times. So,
Well, a testament to the quality of the game too, because nobody's crying about it.
If it's fun for the developers, it's going to be fun for the players.
Dude.
Yeah.
I would just say if you ever wanted to be a vampire, you don't need another reason. That's what had me sold.
Yeah.
And sight unseen is like, I get to do what? I don't have to hunt them, which is usually the MO in a lot of games. You hunt the vampires.
Yeah, you're not the vampire.
Yeah.
You are hunting vampires. No, in this one, you get to be...
Like, even though they tell you, I instinct, like when you first ever grab someone and pull them over, sneak up behind.
Leaning the head in with it.
Yeah. Like totally. It's the coolest thing. So, I mean, I think it's really brought the vampire experience from the point of view that you've done it very, very good justice.
And there's, no pun intended, and there's climbing, there's big jumping. So you really feel that vampire feel.
And I like stealth games. I used to love flat screen stealth games way back in the day. So this, and I will agree, invisibility is crucial.
Yeah, there's even been times I jump down on somebody, the other guy's right there, and I turn invisible real quick, wait for him to turn away, and then snap him, I mean, so I actually prefer the game to be the way it is, that you can't just go in and walk forward as an all-power for vampire. Nobody can take you on hand-to-hand. Then I wouldn't play like a vampire. But because it's stealth-orientated,
you've got your
smart.
Vulnerabilities, yeah.
You have to time it. You have to wait.
Feed.
You'll notice the enemy's doing routes in some situations. All right, let me play around with that. So I think the game's balanced and executed extremely well.
Oh, it's a huge project.
And again, that intro music in the main menu, your sound people
I have
did a great job.
That's this. We work with a studio called Two Feathers. They composed and recorded all the music, and they've actually done music for all our games. Almost all our games from Apex Construct and forward. Actually, they're also based in Stockholm. Two great people. They're married now as well. Niklas and Elvira. They're awesome. I'll tell them you like it.
Oh, they did a great job.
It's one of the, for the past year, we've been really laying heavy on games that have good sound scores, good voice acting, because it's an area of the overall gaming experience that it gets, I don't think it gets enough recognition where it should, when it's part of, it's like watching a movie. You watch a scary movie with no sound, it ain't scary. But you turn that environment element on with the scary music.
It's so I feel like it's always important in gaming, but in VR,
it's a percentage
with immersion and you wanting to be a part of the character, the music is that much more important. So is high quality voice acting, and that's something that Fast Travel, they really knocked it out of the park on this one. So
everything Fast Travel does,
we haven't been disappointed yet.
Dude, we've literally been joking for over a year. Constantly, anytime we like look at a trailer for something, like who's the developer, who's the publisher, and go, oh, this one's published by Fast Travel. You're like, it's going to be a good game. And it's going to be on the store.
Even a game like Broken Edge, now they're mixed reality, and oh my god, you guys just don't stop. So hats off to you all. But before we let Erik go, of course it's kind of afternoon here, but it's a little bit later for them over in Stockholm. So we've already stolen him a whole bunch. But do you have anything else you want to ask Erik before we let him go?
No, I'm grateful for the time we've had. When you told me who it was going to be, we were going to be talking to, I was like, you sure he's like one of the co-founders or something? And you're like, yeah. I'm like, I couldn't be more excited. So I went into it, having minimal stuff I wanted to learn. I really wanted to know where the name came from, some of the history. I think I've covered all my bases. I'd love to have someone back on again, though, because there's so many more projects coming.
No shortage of news to talk about.
Yeah,
so.
it's like.
And then before we let you go, Erik, like we said, we'll definitely have somebody from the team back on, in the future with no shortage of projects. But is there anything else you wanted to touch on that we didn't go over today?
No, it was super nice talking to you. It was a lot of fun. And I think, if the listeners here, if they like our games, they should find our Discord server, which I, of course, being an old guy who don't know how to use Discord, it's there. But because I think specifically for the Mannequin team and other, we like to hear from people. We like to hear from people who play our games, well, if you haven't checked out Vampire the Masquerade Justice, please do. We're very proud of it. We think it's a really cool stealth vampire game. And we really said, let's deliver a good vampire experience. And one of the first things we said was, let's have blood drinking in first person. So that took quite a lot of work, actually. But it was, it was one of the, when we pitched the game to Paradox, I know on a camera, and I just, and you get to drink. And it's like, yes, we should do that. So I think it's, if that fantasy is something that you really want to experience, you should try the game.
You can't be a vampire and not feed. It's like I actually thought for a little tiny bit that I might be feeding on just rats. I'm like, okay, fair enough. I'm going to be, and it makes sense. There's an abundance of rats, but to know that you can feed on, and it sounds terrible to say, but to know that you can feed off of people, like, yes, this is being a vampire. This is what they do.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any medium that can channel being a vampire better than VR. Because for the same reason you said, it's not just grab them and pull them in. You get to do the full lean up to the neck, and you know me, I'm doing like the head down effect with it. Hell yeah, like I'm biting an apple.
Try to get the blood sucking bonus.
Yeah, so huge props to you guys. You guys completely knocked it out of the park. Like I said, end of the year, but one of the best story based narrative games of the year. So, this end of the year is crazy, to say the least.
Thank you. Didn't expect it.
Yeah, hats off. So thank you so much for joining us today, Eric. For the listeners, like we always say, if you enjoy us, rate us 5 stars, subscribe. Same thing for these games you love. If you like them, drop them a store rating. A 5-star store rating makes a huge difference as well. And definitely go check out their Discord server as well. Stay up to date on all the latest and greatest with Mannequin. Yeah, I'm excited for that one. So thank you so much for everyone to listen today. And we'll check you out with another one on Friday.
Take care.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.